All right, guys, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another reaction. Welcome back to another sports reaction. I came across this video a while ago. I wanted to react to it because not only does this, analysis, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, gets destroyed for disrespecting Larry Bird, but I want to know what he said and how he was checked about it too. Because if any modern player think that today's basketball, today's NBA is really not it, to be honest. If you really want to know about basketball, you go to the 80s, go to the 90s. There's so many great teams, so many great players, so many great coaches that came through those eras of basketball. But man, this is crazy. Without further ado, let's jump right into this reaction.
Larry Bird is highly regarded as one of the 10 best players in NBA history. He was highly skilled, a great scorer, as well as a great passer. And when it came to his Celtics teams, he was highly valuable to their overall success. Now, with that being said, Larry Bird, like most older legends, is losing respect as time goes on. And when it comes to ESPN, I was absolutely floored to see a former NBA player insulting Larry Bird and saying point blank he is not one of the greatest shooters in NBA history.
And I think the NBA has gotten way past the balance and watching guys give up dunks to shoot threes on fast breaks, that kind of thing. I think that has hurt the game a lot. Now, that's me. I am old school, as we all know. JJ, perfect. But, Bird shot plenty of threes. And they had Parrish and McHale. Bird shot plenty of threes, the best. And Bird is one of the great shooters in the history of the sport. Not even close.
Bird shot threes. He never was a volume shooter from three.
No, I know that, but he was a great three-point shooter. He was not good. He was great.
Here's my take on this one. I want to jump in before they continue. He's a great scorer, great shooter. This is the thing. When Larry Bird, he said it in one of the videos that today's NBA, they're jacking up threes and, things like that. But he said in a video or an interview that when it comes to taking threes, well, number one, the three-point line was introduced to Larry Bird was introduced to the three-point line in the NBA. Correct me if I'm wrong, Doc. I said it wrong. Correct? Comment down below your thoughts about that. I believe when he got to the NBA was when he was introduced to the three-point line. And he was already he was an amazing scorer without the three-point line. So can you imagine? And I've watched certain threes that he takes, streaky, of course. There's threes that's demoralizing, right? That's gonna, break the opponent's heart when he takes those threes. Come on, man.
So, stopping that clip right there, Redick, at the very end, had the facial expression of someone who was annoyed and disgusted by Larry Legend being called one of the best shooters of all time. And for someone like Redick, it might be hard to understand that players in the past were also great players. But for him, he is so preoccupied with boosting up today's players, he downplays and disrespects past eras, like Bird, Cousy, as well as Jerry West. Now,
it says Jerry West questions JJ Redick's credentials after his disrespect of old NBA stars. What did his career look like? I'm gonna be honest. Yo, shout out to Jerry West for this one. Shout out to Jerry West for this one. Because how are you gonna disrespect old NBA stars when they played in the best eras of basketball versus now it's like pillow fights on the court. This is just my opinion, my analogy of today's NBA. It's soft like Charmin, the tissue. It's pillow fights on the court. One little touch and it's like blowing the whistle. There's no physicality no more. So it makes sense. Like if JJ is talking ish about old NBA players, then who are you? What are your stats? What do you have to bring to the table? Number one, JJ's he's not on Larry's level. No matter what stats you could bring up about JJ Redick, nowhere near Larry or any of these NBA old school NBA legends, man. It's nah.
Getting on to the actual argument, Larry Bird, in his era, there was a three-point line that was introduced his first year. But for middle school, high school, even college, he had no three-point line. That is some very important context a lot of fans either don't know or try to ignore. And one more thing I do want to add, when Bird came into the NBA, he was actually a power forward who played primarily on the block. And despite that, in his first year in the NBA, he shot 40.6% from behind the arc. In terms of percentage, he ranked third in the NBA, he was fifth in total threes, and sixth in threes attempted. As a rookie off the bat, Larry Bird was the best three-point shooter in 1980. And what makes it even more impressive, out of the qualifiers for three-point shooting, he was the only power forward to make the list, once again proving how much of a unicorn he really was.
He's one of the top 5 three-point shooters of all time. That's how good Bird is. Oh, yes.
We're not
three-point shooting contests. He was phenomenal. Bird's a great shooter.
Wait a minute,
and Bird didn't shoot.
Bird is absolutely one of the greatest shooters ever, but he's not one of the top 5 three-point,
yes,
top 3, whatever you just said.
Did you see the three-point shooting that he put on, those clinics that he put on at the All-Star game?
Again,
did you watch?
Doggy, it's just math. It's attempts, it's makes, and it's percentage. And there's no way you could.
Oh my gosh! Hold on.
Could ever argue Larry Bird is a top 3 three-point shooter of all time. You can't make that argument.
You're basing it on.
He's one of the.
How can you not make the argument when the stats speak for itself? The footages speak for themselves. He just said wins, makes, and percentages. Yeah, third in the league. And he had a 40, I don't remember the number from earlier. It was like a 40.6 or something like that. That's really good numbers from especially in that era. That's really good numbers.
Now, looking at JJ in this clip, he once again provides no context, saying, quote, "It's about makes, attempts, and percentage." Looking at the raw numbers with no context, no data, and no additional information. That argument right there, going on stats alone, is highly disingenuous. For example, look at the mid and early 2000s. Back in that era, averaging 30 points was extremely difficult for people like Kobe, Allen Iverson, and even T-Mac. Being knowledgeable NBA fans, we know that era had a much slower pace, the paint was more crowded, and scoring was definitely more difficult. When looking at the raw stats with no context, players in today's league averaging 30 were more efficient compared to Kobe, as well as Iverson. And like Reddick said, it's makes, attempts, and percentage. Someone like SGA, off the pure raw stats, was a better scorer than peak Iverson. And someone like Tatum technically was more impressive than the early 2000s Kobe. My overall point being, stats like usual require.
I'm gonna be honest, all these stats that are being brought up, I know he's making his point, but this is the reason why. Look at these numbers. These are the true numbers right here. These are because of how soft the NBA is today. There's no physicality. There's nothing. There's no defense. This is why they're able to score efficiently, more efficiently nowadays than back in this era, back in Kobe's era, AI, T-Mac.
Context. The same thing goes to Larry Bird and his shooting percentage. And speaking of that percentage, looking at Bird, after 1984, when he stopped playing power forward, his overall shooting splits were highly impressive. Shooting 50% from the field, 39.8% from 3, and 90% from the line. During that time period, 5 different times he shot above 40% from 3, and his highest season was at 42.7%. And going year by year, in 85, he was 4th in three-point makes, 86, he was 1st, 87, also 1st, and 88, he was 4th. For peak Larry Bird, from 85 to 88, he was 1st in threes made, 1st in threes attempted, and 4th in three-point percentage. For his overall era, in terms of volume and percentage, he was the Steph Curry of the late 1980s.
Bird is an unbelievable.
Again, we had this discussion the other day. About James Naismith. James Naismith invented the game. You were rewarded for putting the ball in the basket. There's plenty of people that have shot more, and guess what? Made more at a higher percentage than Larry Bird from three. I'm not saying Larry Bird is not one of the greatest shooters ever. He's not one of the greatest three-point shooters ever.
Absolutely.
You cannot.
Because the game changed. Because the game changed. It went from physicality, defense, to more offense, which shifted everything. Now it's more on offense. Now the pace is faster. Now you're attempting more shots. Now it's no more passing it down low to the bigs or power forwards down low in the post. Now it's more fast passing, jacking up shots. How much shots can you? Both teams are jacking up shots, but whoever wins the game is the one that makes the most shots that they jack up. So this is absurd. Number one. Number two, I know he's trying to make his point, a debate and everything, but he just said made attempts and percentages. I could have sworn those things determine if you're a great shooter or not. So I'm so confused at what the point that JJ Redick is trying to make.
Not make that argument.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Because the 80s is so much different. There's physicality, the way they guarded people. You couldn't
Boom.
Can we get
Let's
off
go.
this physicality
Make a
thing?
point.
Seriously, can
I've
we
been
get
trying
off
to
this
make a point for
physicality
you,
thing?
Doug.
So once again, Redick has zero historical context and wants to make basketball black and white and about percentage and stats. And looking at Larry Bird, like I said before, he was one of the pioneers of the high-volume three-point shooters from day one in the NBA. And for a big man, he was especially unique in his time because most forwards didn't dare step out to shoot threes. And Bird's overall influence, much like Steph Curry, had a big effect on the game going forward, for guys like Dirk Nowitzki, Kevin Durant, and even Jason Tatum. And one thing I do want to nail home, in 1980, three-point shooting was a gimmick and a joke for most coaches. But for Larry Bird, in a 5-year period, he legitimized it while shooting upwards of 40%, really not knowing what he was doing for his time. And like I said before, peak Larry Bird was an elite and all-time great three-point shooter. As from 85 to 88, he shot 41.4% from behind the arc, when the league average was 29.5%. Once again,
Whoa, do you see that? No way. No way. No way.
showing Bird was light years ahead of the
Bro, that's like a 10% or more than 10% increase. Number one, that's individually. Bird is shooting at way different than everybody else in the. What point does JJ Redick have to make? No, he doesn't have any point to make.
of 40%, really not knowing what he was doing for his time. And like I said before, peak Larry Bird was an elite and all-time great three-point shooter. As from 85 to 88, he shot 41.4% from behind the arc, when the league average was 29.5%. Once again, showing Bird was light years ahead of the curve and is a unicorn for his time period given his size, volume, as well as percentage. And one more thing I do want to reiterate is stats with zero context. As any average Joe off the street can look at a box score, look at a percentage, and
Right.
read it and tell if it's good or bad. But a real smart NBA fan, what they do, they look at the context, the peak, and the overall era.
Because different eras of basketball. This right here, this is the era where you had to work for every point, every stat that you had to, for the game of basketball. You had to work for it. This side was just lack of defense, lack of physicality. Man.
As looking at raw stats as a simpleton, someone like Kobe and his career stats aren't as impressive as Damian Lillard when it comes to scoring. As Dame compared to Kobe, averages more points, a higher true shooting percentage, higher three percentage, and higher free throw percentage. Would anyone in their right mind say Dame Lillard was a better overall scorer than Kobe? Because looking at the numbers, remember, makes, attempts, and percentage, Dame Lillard, in fact, was a better scorer. And once again, looking at Bird, at his absolute peak in the playoffs, he was phenomenal. As an 86, have joined him on that list.
let's say Steph Curry, for example.
Right.
When I watch Steph Curry off the ball in a playoff game,
Oh, he's great.
getting grabbed and held by Marcus Smart, they're attached to him at all times.
Right.
Then when I watch Larry Bird come off a pin down and no one's within 5 feet of him and they're shooting the gap, you're telling me one is more physical than the other? You're telling me that's more physical than Steph Curry being grabbed and held for 48
This
minutes?
is funny.
Now, stop.
This is oh, this is funny.
Stopping
Oh,
Redick right there. When talking about any era of basketball, there are always good defensive teams and good defensive teams and bad defensive teams. But for Redick, when it comes to Bird's era, he only focuses in on the bad defense, compared to Steph's era, where he totally ignores the bad defense and the awful teams like Houston, Charlotte, and San Antonio. And as a basketball fan on YouTube, it takes about 5 minutes to find Larry Bird playing against very physical defense who grabs him, holds him, double teams him, and does all types of things to limit his shots and his shooting space. And when speaking of the 80s, when it came to the Pistons, they had Dennis Rodman, Joe Dumars. The Lakers had Cooper and Worthy. Philadelphia had Bobby Jones and Caldwell Jones. Players like Allen Robinson, Larry Nance, Sidney.
absolutely correct. Naming all the great defensive players. And then the previous video, it showed there was a great list of players that, number one, NBA first team, NBA all defense first team, of course. And then second team. Not everybody's going to be able to fit. It's like competition. You get me? Between the first team and second defense. And that era of basketball, you had to work for your shots. Not like today where those stats are not even worth it, man. All the points per game, rebounding and stuff. There's no physicality. So for me, any stats from the modern day is doesn't matter to me. Just personally. That's just my opinion. Comment down your thoughts below.
Moncrief, Buck Williams, you had great defenders on all-time great defensive teams. And just like Redick, I could cherry pick bad plays here, bad plays there, from any era. At the end of the day, it makes no sense doing that. You have to watch the film, understand the era, and provide context to what you're watching. Yes, back in the day, they played very close and compact to the basket. That's because back then, they didn't know the value of three-point shooting. But someone like Bird was a pioneer and an innovator of three-point shots for big men and just players in general. And one last thing I do want to throw in there, looking at Larry Bird, Mad Dog Russo brought up the NBA Finals. For Bird in the Finals, for his career, in 5 trips collectively, he shot 42.2% from behind the arc. And when it came to clutch time play, in the final 5 minutes, shot a staggering 42.8%. If you look at three-point shooting for Larry Bird, at the biggest times when the stakes were highest, he elevated his game and rose to the occasion. And like Pat Riley said, Larry Legend is the guy you want taking the shot when the clock's winding down. So that right there is my last overall point. And when it comes to Bird, I personally think he's a top 10 shooter of all time. If you want to say top 5, I definitely wouldn't push back too heavily given his era and how good he was for his time period. And for Redick, as you guys know, I am not a big fan of him or his takes regarding past legends. As always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you
Hey,
next
good
time.
video, man. Good takes too. I like his takes. I mean, different eras of basketball, of course, is different, but if you really think about it, I may sound like a hater of like what's being done in modern NBA, you know, the stats and all these other things, yada yada. But what they just showed earlier, the stats of T-Mac, the stats of AI, the stats of Kobe Bryant, those stats are actual factual stats, not what's done in modern NBA because there's no physicality, no defense. JJ Redick trying to make a point like, oh, off ball, Curry is running around screens, yada yada. Marcus Smart trying to grab him. Nah, man. Put that and peak basketball eras like the 80s and 90s and show me what stats you'll come up with at that time. And you could cherry pick all you want, this and this. Oh, he didn't do this but it's, bro, this is peak basketball here, man. Come on, man. This is crazy. The disrespect of NBA legends must stop. It must stop. That's crazy. I'm mind blown at the takes that JJ Redick was just trying to make. Nah, man, that's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Oh, no. Before I close this out, man, what's going on in the comment section? It says Bird winning the 3-point contest and warm-up jacket was one of the most savage moments in NBA. Yeah, actually, that's facts. That's actual facts. Calling Bird overrated is like putting a label on your forehead. Yeah, I'm stupid. Yeah, facts. If you really know basketball, you know. It says if Larry Bird played in this era, he would be illegal in 43 states because they would stop him from playing. They will have a Larry Bird rule. They'll try to kick him out the league because of how dominant he is and how he's exposing it. If Larry Bird was playing in today's league, I'm pretty sure he would retire soon, not later. He would retire soon. Why I'm saying that is because he would know, his intellect, his IQ would know this is not real basketball. I don't want to do this no more. It says Steven just has the "who hired this idiot" look on his face the whole time JJ is talking. You know what? Damn, I wanted to hear Stephen A. Smith's take like on this video. Hey, whoever could find the video for me of the full thing, and if Stephen A. had a take and what was going on, hey man, bro, this is crazy. I'm mind blown. The takes that JJ Redick was, oh my gosh, it's crazy. And I'm pretty sure that's how it is for majority like modern like, you know, basketball fans or like modern like NBA players. Crazy. This one, as a long life Piston fan, no player scared me more than Bird. Parentheses, not even Jordan. That's crazy. Pat Riley had a quote too, and it says it right here. If I had to choose a player to take a shot to save a game, Michael Jordan. But if I had to choose a player to save my life, Larry Bird, hands down. Hands down. It says, remember when JJ was actually a relevant player? He was a role player. He was a role player his whole career. He did it. Was he was a 3-point, you know, marksman? Yes, he was. But you're not going to hear about JJ Redick 10 years from now, 20 years from now. You're going to continue to hear about Larry Bird. You're going to continue to hear about the 80s, the 90s. You're going to continue to hear about peak basketball. This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. Is it the only thing weirder than what Redick? Give me 1 second, guys. I'll have to catch you guys on the next one. I got a phone call right now.